How you guys doing today? Today I want to talk about how to build credit after a bankruptcy, so stay tuned. My name is Jay, and welcome to Ask a Debt Collector. Now, I've been in the debt collection industry for over 15 years. I've done it all, from skip tracing to collecting to management, and I've owned 2 debt collection agencies. For the past 8 years, I've been the go-to guy for friends and family for questions regarding debt and credit, and now I want to be that person for you. If you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions. Let's go. If you like the content, you like the information that I'm giving, and you're new to this channel, be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you are looking at trying to build your credit and you need some help with that, I have a free 30-minute consultation down below. Click the link and schedule an appointment with us. Now, filing bankruptcy can be a very, very stressful situation, when you're on the ends of filing bankruptcy, depending on your financial situation and what's going on. Typically, I try and tell people to try and stay away or try to avoid a bankruptcy at all costs, but I understand that there are situations and circumstances out there where you have to file for bankruptcy. Now, filing for bankruptcy obviously comes on a personal level in 2 different ways. You can file a Chapter 13 or a Chapter 7. A Chapter 13 bankruptcy is where basically you agree to pay back your debts. You pay like a one-time fee monthly, determined by a judge with regards to depending on how much debt you have and what it is that you can afford to pay. And over a course of 7 to 10 years, you'll actually pay back down all of your debt, but you're paying, a monthly payment, one-time monthly payment for that. To the courts. A Chapter 7, which is where most people actually do, a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, it actually wipes out all of your debt with regards to everything. So you don't actually have to pay anything back. Now, with both of these bankruptcy, a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, as long as you're making your payments and you've made your payments after 7 years, it can come off of your credit report. But typically it'll last up to 10 years. And with the Chapter 7 bankruptcy, it's typically going to last you about 10 years for that to fall off of your credit report. Now, after that 10 years, that's what it is. So a lot of times when people are looking at bankruptcy, a lot of times they're thinking, well, shoot, if I file this bankruptcy, I'm not going to be able to apply for anything or get approved for anything for 10 years, right? And that's far from the truth. The reality is, while after your bankruptcy is discharged, there are some things that you can do in order to increase your credit score. But understand, as you apply for new stuff during that time span, I recommend you wait about 2 years of positive payment history with anything that you get new. The interest rates are going to be a little higher. But let's go through some of the things that you should do after filing a bankruptcy, whether it's a Chapter 13 or a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, to build your credit. If you have a payment plan, obviously with the Chapter 13 bankruptcy, make sure you're making your payments each and every month. Obviously, they've gone over your finances. You've gone over your finances, hopefully with an attorney, or if you did it yourself, you have an allotted amount you're supposed to pay. Make sure you're making those payments, right, to the courts to pay back the creditors, because that's the whole reason why you got the Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So stay on top of that. Don't miss any payments with any other bills, right? If you're paying rent with regards to that, or you're paying other bills that you may have, make sure you're making those payments on a timely manner. Don't miss any of those payments, because you don't want that snowball effect to happen, and then next thing you know, you're right back in the same situation. This is a way that you can increase your credit score, is by getting a secured credit card. Now, I know on this channel I've always stated, I would rather you get an authorized user and then build from there. But when you have a bankruptcy on your credit report, one of the only cards that you can get is a secured credit card, right? And if you go to your bank, obviously you give them a certain amount of money, and then they'll give you credit for that. And that'll show as positive payment history on your credit report. And after a year or 2 years, that will raise your FICO score. 6 months, obviously, into it, but as long as you're making your payments, that'll help you out. Now, if you're applying for credit cards, make sure that you keep it to one at a time, right? So if you apply for a secured credit card and they deny you, don't go to the next place and apply for another credit card, because every single time you're applying for these credit cards, you got to understand it's a hard inquiry. And every time you get a hard inquiry on your credit profile, it is dropping your score. So if you go and apply for one secure credit card and you get declined, and you go apply for another and another and another, and you keep getting declined, you're going to keep getting declined. Your FICO score is dropping, and the creditors can see that you are, through the inquiries, the hard inquiries, that you're applying for a bunch of credit cards. And because you have the bankruptcy, it sort of kind of puts you in a harder task with regards to that as well. Now, once you've got approved for that secured credit card, the next thing, after about 2 years of paying for it, and make sure that your FICO score at this time, spend 2 years of paying on a secured credit card, as long as you're making your payments on time and so forth, your FICO score, wait until it gets to about a 650, right? And at this time span, depending on what's going on, obviously, if you filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, chances are you possibly may not have a car, or whatever the circumstance is. Apply for a brand new car, right? This is an installment loan. Yes, your interest rate is going to be higher, 10, 12, 15%, but that's the cost of doing business and building back your credit. As long as you get a car, you're making your monthly payments. Don't get something out of your league or something you can't afford. Make sure you factor in insurance on that car as well, and you get a brand new car. That installment loan, after a year or 2 years of paying that's going to raise your FICO score as well, and show that with the secure credit card and that actual car loan, that you're making your payments and you're doing what you're supposed to do as far as building your credit. And then the last thing that I would recommend that you do is, after making those payments on that secured credit card over the course of the time, obviously now you got a car that you're making payments on. Yes, the interest rate is high, but you're building your credit back up, and it's going to take some time. The last thing I recommend that you do is, with that secured credit card, you apply or try and get it flipped to an unsecured credit card, right? And then at that time span, you're building your credit and you're doing what you're supposed to do. Bankruptcy is not the end of the world, right? Sometimes, that's why, they brought it up. Sometimes you may be going through a financial hardship or a financial situation where you have to file bankruptcy. But once you file bankruptcy, it's not the end all end. You still have a chance to build up your credit. And depending on how old you are, whatever the circumstance is, that 7 to 10 years will pass. And once that time does pass, within the end term of building your credit by doing some of these options, that'll fall off of your credit report. And because you've been making these payments and doing that's going to raise your FICO score even more. And then you can start applying for other stuff and being responsible this time around. Making sure you're budgeting, making sure you're using your credit cards like debit cards, and making sure you're not applying for loans that you can't really afford. Now, again, if you need some help with building your credit, I have a free 30-minute consultation. Check that out. Down below as well in the description, there is some free pay to delete, cease and desist, Goodwill letters down there that I give to you guys absolutely for free. If you have any questions about credit or debt, put them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions. And as I always state, you be great.